Okay, so what did we study yesterday? We studied joints. Yeah.
Yes.
3 types of joints. What are those?
They are immovable, partly movable, and movable.
Yes. And okay, then we have fibrous and we have cartilaginous joints. Okay, wait, we'll turn on this. Okay, so immovable, partly movable, and movable. Then we have one, two, three, eight, please match the following.
Immovable synovial.
Immovable is no.
Oh. Wait.
Immovable is
fibrous.
Fibrous. Partly movable are cartilaginous. Okay, how can you remember this cartilaginous? We studied that in partly movable, example is rib cage. Okay, when we breathe in, they expand, and when we breathe out, again, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And you know, in those rib cage bones, there are filled with cartilage.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so there you can remember that they are cartilaginous.
Okay.
Joints. Yes. Then movable joints, they are synovial joints. Okay, they have synovial fluid in between. Like they have fibrous, they have cartilaginous, they have synovial fluid. In example of immovable.
The brain.
Yes, the skull. Okay, the frontal, parietal, occipital. All these are example of immovable joints. Then we have cartilaginous, that is partly movable. Partly movable are
Distal joint.
between tibia and
Fibula.
yes, very good. And rib cage. Then movable, synovial joint. Synovial joint we studied in detail. There are different types of synovial joints. What are those?
Hinge, pivot, ball and socket.
Yes. Pivot,
Ellipsoid, saddle, plane,
socket.
condyloid joints.
Yes, very good. Ball and socket, saddle, ellipsoid, vein, and last is
Condyloid. Condyloid.
Yes. Okay. So hinge is like a door. Okay, the door it rotates around its one axis. Similarly, is the hinge joint. Can you give example of hinge joint?
Elbow.
Yes, elbow and
Knee.
yes. So what happens in this hinge joint? This is the axis. Okay, and this is the door. So it is moving only along one axis.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what kind of movement is this?
Flexion and extension.
Extension. Flexion and extension. Yes, very good. Now pivot. Pivot joint is like example of pivot joint, please.
The forearm.
Yes, the forearm. What in forearm?
You can rotate it.
Yes, we can rotate this. Yes, I'm rotating it from here or here, from the wrist or from the elbow.
From the elbow.
Yes, here we have here. This is the radial. Okay, this is ulna. This is radial. So this ulna is in its position. This radius, it is rotating. This here, this joint, it is rotating. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So this is pronation, supination. Pronation, supination. Okay. So pronation and supination. Yes. Next, ball and socket. Example of ball and socket.
Hip and shoulder.
Hip and shoulder, which is more movable.
Hip.
More movable.
More movable.
More movement. In which joint? More movement.
The hip.
The hip as compared to shoulder.
Or wait, shoulder has more movement.
Yes. And more stability.
More stability in the hip.
Okay. Is it even required to have this more stability in the hip joint?
It is.
Why?
Because there's a lot of body weight
That it has to transfer to the
hip.
legs. Or it has to carry on its own when we are sitting. Yes. Very good. Okay. So it can have flexion and extension. Then it can have abduction, adduction. I think abduction or adduction is very clear. Okay. Which one is this movement? This.
Going out is abduction. Going in is adduction.
Yes. Okay, good. Then rotation. What is rotation?
Moving along an axis.
Yes, this is rotation. And circumduction.
A saddle.
Circumduction is this this circular motion of the arm, full arm is involved. It's called, and it is the joint involved in this is the shoulder joint. Okay,
The ball and socket.
Yes, ball and socket. Yeah, then saddle we have. Example of saddle.
Carpals and metacarpals.
Yes, carpal and metacarpal. The joint between a carpal and metacarpal is example of saddle. Then we have ellipsoid. Example of ellipsoid.
Oh, our wrist.
Yes. It is similar to this. Okay. Because it is giving flexion, extension, and then also rotation. Okay. So it's just the shape
ankles?
is different. Huh?
Wrist and ankles.
Yes, wrist and ankles. Yes. Then plane.
Carpals and tarsals.
Yes. Within the carpals. We have 8 carpals. So within the carpals, we have plane. So there is only gliding and a little bit of rotation that happens. Okay. Because you see, you're able to move somewhat like there's little movement in the carpals, within the carpals. So that is only gliding and rotation, little bit of rotation.
So then, carpals are both saddle and plane.
Huh?
Carpals are both saddle and plane.
Yes. Saddle is between the carpal and metacarpal. Here. You see, here we have metacarpal. So it's between the carpal and metacarpal.
Okay.
The plane is within the carpals. We have 8 number of carpals. So within the carpals or the tarsals. Yeah, you get the difference? Here, the joint between metacarpal and carpal. One carpal here, one metacarpal here. This joint. Okay. In plane, it's the carpal and carpal.
Okay.
Yes.
Between carpal and carpal.
Yes. Condyloid.
I'm not sure.
Others can also answer, please. This is revision going on. Condyloid.
Oh, the finger.
Or the?
Finger.
Yes, it's in the fingers, in the phalanges, that there is some movement. They can show flexion, extension, but they cannot show rotation. Okay, there is no rotation in this and this joint. Okay, all right. Now let's move forward. Okay, so we did lateral flexion yesterday.
Yes,
We did?
lateral flexion.
Yes, yes, we did some movement of the spinal cord, and those are lateral flexion, lateral flexion, and we have twisting, and we have the axial extension. Please tell me. Please, I want others to participate as well. We have 4 students, so like I want you to participate as well. This is not just one student and teacher. This is all should participate. So please tell me, what is lateral flexion?
From the middle away.
Yes. When a person is bending. Okay. This lateral flexion. This there is bending of yes. There is bending of spinal cord sideways, left and right, left or right. So this lateral flexion. This is Trikonasana. So in this, the spinal cord is bending towards left or right. Now twisting. What is twisting?
Actually a rotation or from the middle. A rotation of the center.
It's a twisting of the spinal cord. Suppose this is spinal vertebral column. So in 𝐘𝐸 what happens is this is the torso. I don't know how to draw this diagram. Okay, this twisting. Okay, twisting of the spinal cord in 𝐘𝐸. Okay, I'll just show you an image of this. Maybe then it will be more clear. 𝐘𝐸. 𝐘𝐸. Yes, here. In this, you see there is twisting of the spinal cord. Only upper half of spinal cord is twisting, not the whole of spinal cord. Now you understand?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. Then axial extension. What happens in axial extension?
Straightens the spine.
Yes, very good. So this is the lateral view that I'm giving. Spinal cord is in form of S. So in axial extension, what we are trying to do, we are trying to reduce these curves. We are trying to elongate the spinal cord, like in Tadasana. Okay, so we are trying to elongate the spinal cord. That is axial extension. Okay. I hope this is clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So let's learn some new movements in the body. Okay, and then we'll revise the rest of the part. Yes. In hand, we have ulnar deviation. Okay. So now we know that this is ulna and this is radius. Okay. You see, this bone is ulna and this bone is radius. Now, I can do this. Okay, do you understand this movement? This.
Okay, wrist going left and right.
Yes, it's from the wrist. Yeah. So, I told you this is ulna and this is pinky. So, if I'm moving my arm toward my wrist, towards the pinky, this is ulnar deviation. If I'm moving it inwards towards the radius, it's radial deviation. Okay, movement of fingers towards ulna or the pinky. This is movement of fingers towards ulna. And this movement of fingers towards radius. Okay, so this is ulna, this is radius. When I'm moving towards radius, the movement of fingers, but it's from the wrist. In definition, it's saying fingers, but the movement is from wrist. But I'm moving the fingers. You understand? Okay, this is wrist movement towards ulna, is ulnar deviation. Now, movement towards the radius is radial deviation. I hope this is clear. Okay, then we have opposition. Opposition is when I am moving these, the little finger and the thumb together. Okay, when these two fingers are touching each other, is called opposition. Movement of thumb each other. Okay, that's called opposition. Then we have dorsiflexion. And we have dorsiflexion, palmar flexion. Okay, can you tell me what is flexion? What is flexion?
It's bending one part.
It's bending.
Yeah.
Bending of?
Bending of, for example, the hand or bending the foot.
Yes. It's basically when there are two bones. Okay. Two bones and we have a joint in between. When we are decreasing the angle. See, now it is 180 degree. Now I have reduced it to 90 degree. This is flexion. Okay. And this is the dorsal part. Yes, this part is dorsal. So dorsal flexion. dorsal. This part is dorsal. Okay. Well, all this is dorsal. So dorsal flexion, because here I am decreasing the angle between the bones here. We have this and we have this. So here is the joint. I am decreasing the angle. So it is dorsiflexion. Now I can do this also. Here we have palm. This is palm. And here I am reducing the angle here. Now it is 180. Now I have reduced it to 90. 180. Now this is 90 degree. This is palm. So this is called palmar flexion. Palmar flexion. This is dorsiflexion. This is palmar flexion. Dorsiflexion and palmar flexion. Okay. Then there is wrist flexion. Sorry, finger flexion. So this is finger. If I'm reducing the angles here, it is finger flexion. I'm extending them. Finger extension. Finger flexion. Finger extension. Finger extension. Then I have finger abduction, finger adduction. Finger adduction, finger adduction. Abduction, adduction. Abduction, adduction. When it's going away from the midline, it's abduction. When it's coming together, it's called adduction. Okay, then we have this thumb flexion, thumb flexion, thumb extension, thumb flexion, thumb extension, thumb flexion, thumb extension. Then we have thumb abduction, thumb adduction, thumb abduction, thumb adduction. Okay, so lateral flexion is bending of spine. Twisting is twisting of spine. Axial extension is elongation of spine. Hand, we have ulnar deviation, radial deviation. Ulnar deviation, radial deviation. Ulnar deviation, radial deviation. This is ulnar, this is radial. Okay. Then we have in hand dorsiflexion. This is dorsal flexion. Dorsal flexion. Dorsal flexion, palmar flexion, dorsal flexion, palmar flexion, dorsal flexion and palmar flexion. Then finger flexion, finger extension, finger flexion, finger extension, finger flexion, finger extension. Then finger adduction, finger abduction, adduction, abduction, adduction. Then with thumb, we have flexion, extension, flexion, extension. Then we have adduction, abduction, adduction, abduction, adduction. Okay, I think all this is clear. You can take screenshot.
Okay.
Now, we have some shoulder movements. And all these shoulder movements we are going to study in respect of this collarbone. What is this collarbone called? This bone we see here, this?
Collarbone.
Yes.
Clavicle.
Very good. Clavicle. So in this, we are going to study the distal. It is starting here. Okay, the midline is here. The midline is here. Okay, the clavicle bone starts here. So we are moving away from the midline. So this is distal end. Okay, distal end of clavicle bone. We are going to study all the movements in respect to this clavicle bone. And of that bone, the distal end. Okay. So in this, we have elevation. What is elevation? When we are moving the shoulder upwards, that is, the distal end of clavicle bone is moving upward, is elevation, as the name suggests. Elevation is movement of distal end of clavicle bone upwards. And then we have depression. Downward. So when this clavicle bone, it moves downward, it's called depression. Elevation, depression. Elevation, depression. Okay. Then next we have protraction. So what is protraction? When this distal end of clavicle bone, this distal end of clavicle bone, it moves forward. It moves forward. So what is happening to the scapula? Okay, the shoulder blade. What is happening to those shoulder blades or the scapula? It is getting protruded outside. Okay, it is extend. What happens to the scapula is called protraction. Okay, please do it yourself. And if you have some people around you, you just see what happened to them. Okay, ask them to do this. Ask them to move their shoulder forward, and then you see what is happening to their scapula. That is called protraction. So protraction is the distal end of clavicle bone is moving forward, which is accompanied by scapular protraction. Then we have retraction. Okay, so what happens in retraction is the distal end of clavicle bone is going backward. Okay, when distal end of clavicle bone is going backward, it is accompanied by scapular retraction. I will share some image with you so that it is more clear to you. This is protraction. Oh, what has happened? Your video has stopped. Are you able to see me? See my video?
We can see, but it's not moving.
Okay, so I'll just end this meeting. Something wrong has happened. I don't know what. So I will
You
come
can,
back.
like,
Okay.
cat pose, right?
I don't know what has happened. I'll just end it and come back soon. Yes, this is protraction. Protraction is when you're moving your shoulders forward. Okay, so this is what happens to your scapula. Then you can take screenshot of this.
It's basically rounding the spine, right? Like cat pose.
Cat pose,
Like cat and cow, rounding the spine.
Yeah, you can say in cat pose it is somewhat, this is what is happening when you're, yes, you can say that. Or if you want to understand it even more clear, it's like when you're rotating your shoulders, the shoulder rotation.
Like
Yes, that.
Bakasana, right? Like Bakasana.
Vakasana, no. Vakasana is you are balancing on your palms. You put your knees on your armpits.
No, but the scapula goes out, right? It spreads. So we're protracting our collarbones.
Okay.
Right? That's the movement you're talking about. More about our collarbones.
Yes, it's more easy to understand if you talk about shoulder rotation, and in that you're moving your shoulders forward.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can see this in this cat pose. Okay, when you are doing that, in which it is not stationary, it is moving. Okay, that cat pose, Marjorie Asana. So in that also you can see, I'm a little doubtful about the Vakasana. So it definitely happens in shoulder rotation and the cat pose.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll show you what is retraction. This is retraction. Okay, when you're opening up your shoulders, like moving your shoulders backward. Is there any confusion even now?
No, thanks.
Okay. Yes. So next is okay. Yes, we were doing the disorders of okay, we did supportive structures. Okay, take a screenshot if you want.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So we did supportive structures like ligament, tendons, and ligament, tendon,
and fascia. There's also myofascia, right?
Yes. So in ligament, what is the ligament? What does it connect?
Tissues.
Bones to bones. Then tendons. What does tendon connect?
Muscle to bone.
Yes, muscle to bone. And fascia. What does it connect?
Muscle to muscle.
Muscle to muscle. Yes.
What about myofascia?
Myofascia?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll discuss about that in later classes. Okay. So, in fascia, and we have cartilage. Okay. So, what is cartilage?
Soft bone.
What is cartilage?
It's a soft bone.
It's not the soft bone. It is the soft thing that covers the tip of the bones. Okay, it covers the tip of the bones, like especially long bones. Okay, and these are present at the joints. And why they're present? What is the purpose of cartilage at the joints?
Soften movement.
Soften movements. Yes, and to reduce the friction as much as possible. So what happens when the cartilage is worn off?
Friction and the bone
Yes, there is friction. Then what that leads to?
diseases like arthritis.
Yes. Why? Like, okay, it's causing a disease, arthritis, but what is actually happening in arthritis?
Inflammation
Inflammation
of the bone.
of joints. Yes,
joint.
bones at joints. So that is arthritis is the painful wearing down of joints, basically cartilage. So cartilage is done. Yes. Okay. So next is disease and disorders. We were doing this yesterday. Yeah, we could not finish it. So in this, we have arthritis. We have osteosarcoma. What we have already discussed arthritis. Arthritis is when this cartilage is worn off at the joints. When this worns off, there is friction in the joint, and that friction causes inflammation of the joint, and that inflammation causes the pain. Okay, that's why it's important to keep the joints very healthy. Then we have osteosarcoma. What is osteosarcoma? Osteosarcoma.
Cancer in the bone.
Yes, it's the cancer in the, wherever you see this word osteo, it's related to bone. Osteo. Yes. What is osteoporosis?
The bone density is reduced.
Yes. Why?
Because lack of calcium.
Yes. So when there is not enough calcium in the bone, it causes osteoporosis. So what happens in osteoporosis? The density of the bone is reduced. The density of the bone is reduced. Because of that, the bone gets very fragile and brittle. That means it can break easily. There will be pain in the bone. The legs will not be able to hold the body weight because there is less calcium, less strength. So the person gets tired very easily because he's not able to sustain the weight of the body. So osteoporosis can easily lead to fracture even while a person is walking or playing games like badminton, basketball. Okay, the moment he lands on the ground, it can lead to a fracture in the leg bone. So that's why osteoporosis, it makes the person very weak as the bones are not able to sustain any jerk or any pressure. Okay, then next is sprain. What is sprain? Okay, so we have these connective tissues. Okay, and if you stretch them beyond their capacity, like when you're practicing any asana, it is advised that you practice little bit beyond your capacity. If your capacity is this much, then you just do little bit more. Okay, you cannot do this. What if you overstretch during any asana or during any other physical activity? Then there is a chance of getting a sprain. That's why you should always do only a little bit more than your own capacity. Okay, so we were doing fracture. Okay, we could not finish fracture. Let me finish, but okay, let's see how much we did. Fracture. Types of fracture. Can you please tell?
Stable, transverse, oblique, comminuted, and open.
Yes. Stable, oblique, transverse,
Comminuted. And open.
Minuted. and open or compound. Okay, so what happens in stable? Stable is there is a bone, this is a bone, and in bone there is just a crack, but the bones are intact in its place. Then oblique. What happens in oblique? Please tell me. The fracture is angled, and transverse it is horizontal. And comminuted it is broken into several pieces. More than 3 pieces. Okay. 3 or more pieces, then it is comminuted fracture. Open fracture is when the skin has also pierced. Along with the bone has broken, okay, and it has also pierced the skin. The skin can be pierced either by the bone or by the hit, by that blow. So what happens is, I showed you an image. So this is the bone, it is piercing the skin. So I think this is very clear. We did this. Any confusion in this?
No.
Okay. Yes. Then we were studying causes and we had to end it. Causes are trauma, an accident, then overuse, osteoporosis, as we discussed. Okay. So trauma, accident, overuse. What is overuse? Is like some athletes or sports person or even yoga practitioners. Okay. Like overuse. Yes. When the person is not careful and he is overusing, he's going beyond his limits, then the fracture can happen. Okay. This is osteoporosis we have already discussed. Now, how to take care of our skeletal system? Care. Can you please tell me how to take care of the skeletal system? Please tell me. How can we take care of our bones?
Drink vitamins.
Vitamins. Which vitamin? Essentially, which vitamin?
Calcium and vitamin D.
Vitamin D.
Calcium and vitamin D.
Yes, calcium. How do we get calcium?
From milk or
Milk.
iron.
Yogurt,
Spinach.
spinach. Then we have one curry patta. Curry leaves. We get that in India. I don't know about your native places. So curry leaves are rich. This is one of the spices that we have in India. It is rich in calcium. Okay, what else can we have for calcium? We have makhana or lotus seed. Rich in calcium. Then we have til. Okay, til is hot in nature. It is generally eaten during winters. Okay, when the temperature is like 10 degrees, 4 degrees, like less than 15 degrees. Then we have this til. Okay, so what do? We either use them in sweets or for maximum calcium. How can you use this til? You soak them at night, and in the morning you just grind them and make the milk out of it. Okay, that will give you a lot of calcium. It is rich in calcium. So if anyone is feeling that the calcium, they're lacking calcium, they can do this for 10 days in a row. 10 days straight. It has too much potential of calcium. Okay, so what else can we do? Drink water, Then what else? Something very important for the skeletal system, for the bones.
Stretch.
Stretch exercise. Okay, workout. Then maintain a healthy BMI. And during sports like skating, cycling, we wear protective gears. Okay, you can take screenshot of this.
Oh, you closed it.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So we have only 2-3 minutes left, but I would want to revise a little bit. Okay, types of bones we studied. Okay, axial and appendicular. Can you tell me types of axial bones? Skull.
Skull.
Yes.
Ribs.
Ribs. Thoracic cage.
Spinal cord.
And vertebral. Yes, very good. Vertebral. Okay, appendicular.
Arms, legs,
Arms,
pelvic
legs.
girdle, pectoral girdle.
Yes, very good. Okay, what do we have in skull?
Cranial and facial.
Yes, very good. And facial. In cranial, how many bones?
8.
8 bones. In facial, how many bones?
6.
40. 2 important bones of face. Of facial region. Any 2 important?
Mandible and maxillary.
Mandible and maxillary. Yes. Then in thoracic. What do we have? Ribs. How many pairs?
12.
Yes. Out of this, true ribs.
8. Or
no.
Oh, sorry.
7. 7 true pairs. Okay. Out of this 5.
3 and 2.
What are these?
Floating.
Floating. Yes. Very good. I want everyone to participate. Okay. Okay. So now in vertebrae, we have. Tell me, starting from the neck.
C1 to C7.
Yes, very good. C1 to
C7.
Yes, cervical bones. Then we have
Thoracic T1 to T12.
T1 to T12. Do you see this? From this T1 to T12, these are originating. Okay, from right and from left. 12 ribs are originating, 12 pairs. Okay, this is thoracic region. Then
L1 to L5.
L1 to L5. This is lumbar. Then
I forgot. I know the last one is tailbone.
okay, coccyx.
Oh yeah, coccyx. C1.
Yes, tailbone. And sacrum. How many bones are fused into one?
3 to 1.
No.
Or 5 to 1.
Yes. Sternum is 3 to 1.
Yes. Okay.
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 Yeah, we have sternum also. I forgot sternum here. Okay, this is 3 fused into 1.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, time is over. So we'll start from here only on Monday.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
if I
you.
forget, please
Bye.
remind me that we have to start from here.
Okay, bye.
Okay, then have a great day. Happy Sunday to you all. Bye-bye.